So you probably clicked on this video because you've always seen those all boon or all accuracy pets on Reddit or something and wanted to know how to make them. Well, you've come to the right place, as I'll be showing you from start to finish how to create your own custom pool. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Wizard101 pet guide, and this one is going to be on how to make a custom pool in Wizard101. So I just want to give a fair warning that making custom pools takes a lot of time, hatches, and resources. So before you go into the comments and scream at me that your level 5 account can't do this, just remember that I warned you at the beginning that you'll need to have more than just one couch potato in order to make a custom pool. And this is a lot more advanced than just randomly hatching 2 pets together with the talents you want to create a pool. This method is very organized, and by making the rest of the pool full of common talents, it makes the hatching cost extremely cheap when people hatch with a pool, even if the pet is mega. Here's an example of me hatching with the same exact pet. The hatch costs are vastly different because the first one has an all-common derby pool and the second one has non-commons in the derby pool, making its pedigree higher and therefore its hatch cost higher too. So as I said before in the pet copying guide, I suggested you use a school hamster instead of a beguiled gargoyle. Well, that's because the hamster is exclusive and will make this process slightly less of a pain at the end. There are some alternatives you can use instead of the school hamster, such as the auspicious ox and auspicious tiger. The ox is retired though because it already passed the lunar year, but the tiger is in the crown shop for 5,000 crowns, so if you don't want to do the decathlon for an exclusive pet, you can pay for them. The wow factors are 9, so they are the exact same as the school hamsters, and the tiger will probably be replaced by the rabbit next year in February. So if you're watching in 2023, it will probably be a rabbit instead of a tiger. There's also one last exclusive pet called the Ravenwood hamster, which has a wow factor of 7. Although it may sound worse at first, it could help during step 1 when making your ISO bases. During that step, you want to keep your exclusive pet instead of the pet you hatch within the kiosk. So having the Ravenwood hamster could help in those situations. However, trying to get the Ravenwood hamster in the first place might be hard. You'll have to do the pet promenade, and it's only a chance that it drops at the last reward. So doing the decathlon for a school hamster or buying the auspicious tiger from the crown shop are sure ways of getting an exclusive pet. If you haven't subbed yet, please consider doing so because this guide took a lot of time and effort to make. And before we get into the actual guide, I cannot stress how important this little blue button right here is, which is the full talent view button. It is the best button in the entire game. Legit, so many people look at the simple view of the pet like the simple view is just garbage. This video is going to be split up into 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to isolate your talents. Step 2 is to combine your ISO bases to create your ISO pool or complete pool. And step 3 is to transfer the body. Alright, so let's get it started off. Step 1 is to isolate or ISO your talents on pets. These will be called your ISO bases. An ISO base is a base pet with 1 to 4 desired talents working up to an ISO pool or complete pool, while all the other talents are common and derby is all common too to keep it isolated and organized. You should use your 420 exclusive pet to isolate talents. Perks to using the all-common pool is that you'll have very cheap hatch costs, and many desired talents are non-common, so isolating talents on a common pool is the best choice. You're going to find a pet that has your desired talent or talents. The less talents of the rarity that you want, the better, since you can tell if the talent transferred more easily. You can use the kiosk to search for talents, or you can find someone. The kiosk might not have 2.0 pets of the talent you are looking for, so if you can ask around in servers or whatnot, if someone has an ISO base, then that's probably a lot better than trying to make it on your own. But if you do have to make it on your own, that's fine because it's not too hard to make. Keep in mind that hatching with only 2.0 pets will save you a lot of RNG and time. If you do have to hatch with a non-2.0, I wish you the best of luck. Hatching with the pet that has the highest wow factor will minimize the pet switching RNG. You'll hatch with a pet and then confirm that the desired talent transferred. You can confirm it transferring by looking at the other talents in the pool relative to where your desired talent is. If both of these ultra rares transfer, I know that the top one would be weakness if either the rare or uncommon transfer too, since that ultra rare has to be weakness due to talent priorities. You can also use the priorities of the commons to sometimes tell if the talent has transferred. Take this hatch for example. I hatched with this pet trying to get Relentless isolated. This was the result from the hatch. So I knew the ultra rare at the bottom was most likely Relentless, and the ultra rare above it was either Death Ward or the other unknown one. So I eventually got one of the ultra rares from this pet isolated but not manifested. so I was still unsure whether it was Relentless or not. But once I looked up the priorities of Relentless, Fire Boon, and Death Ward, I knew it was Relentless because Relentless will always be below Fire Boon because of its priority. And if all else fails, manifesting the talent is always a way to check if the talent is on your pool. If the talent did not transfer, you can delete the pet since there's no point in keeping it. You'll hatch your 420 exclusive pet with the pool that has the desired talent until that desired talent has transferred. And now you'll clean up the pool to isolate the talent and make the pet 2.0 again if you lost it. Once you get the talent transferred onto your exclusive pet, it will most likely have other talents on it as well. You'll take the pool that has the desired talent you want on it and hatch it with the all common pool. If the desired talent is lost, delete it and try again. You'll keep doing this until your desired talent is the only one remaining. This is where you'll regain your 2.0 stats because you'll be hatching with your 2.0 420 base. If you're isolating 2 talents at once, you'll just do the same thing but get both talents isolated together instead of just the one. Isolating 2 talents at a time is an option and is good for some combination of talents, example being Spellproof and School Dealer. These talents are desired on most pools, so having that base ready will help speed up future pets that you make. Once you get your ISO base, you'll continue the same process with every single talent you want and make the specific amount of ISO bases that you require for your pool. And the good thing about making these ISO bases is that once you make one, you can reuse it over and over for all the pulls you make with that talent. If you want to go the whole 9 yards and manifest each talent for your ISO bases, you can. Although it will take longer to make those bases, it will help keep that talent in the Offsprings pool. Having the isolated talent that you want manifested will help when making the ISO pool or complete pool, and will also help when you lend out your ISO bases. You could even manifest the talent through each pet when trying to make your ISO. Throughout this guide, I don't manifest the talents on my ISO bases, but if you choose to do so, it will make step 2 easier. Alright, so if you didn't understand a word I said for the past 3 minutes or so, that's fine because I'm going to show you how to isolate a talent right now. So the talent I'm going to try to isolate is Weakness. So I don't know anyone who has an ISO base with Weakness, so I'm going to have to make it myself. So I'm just going to go into the kiosk and search for all talents. Alright, so after quickly browsing through most of them, I can't see any that are 2.0. That's fine, but it will just take longer to make it. Alright, so I actually found a pretty good one. So taking a look at all the talents in the pool, Weakness is ultra rare, and there are no other ultra rares. So if I hatch with this, my 420 with this pet, and I get an ultra rare back, that's automatically Weakness. I could already verify that it's Weakness because that's the only ultra rare that I could get. And like if you compare it to this one, I mean like the stats are a lot worse than the other one, but if you just look at the talents, there's an ultra rare right below Weakness. That's not really good because if I get an ultra rare back, I can't really tell if it's Weakness or Death Dealer without manifesting it. There's also this ultra rare up here, but that won't really matter since there's so many talents in between that and the Weakness. Alright, so comparing this to the last one, there are a total of 7 ultra rares in this talent pool. So trying to verify Weakness, I would probably have to manifest it. So your best bet is to try to find the pool with the least amount of rarities of the talent that you actually want. And this one is basically perfect because it has no other ones. So I'm going to go ahead and hatch with it. And before I hatch my hamster with the Judgment Pet, I'm going to look up the Judgment Pet on the bot. It's a Wow Factor 9 and the hamster is also Wow Factor 9, so I have a 50-50 shot to get the hamster back. So those are pretty good odds. But let's say I hatch my hamster with a Wow Factor 4. Those odds would be a lot worse to try to get the hamster back. So hatching with pets that have a higher wow factor will always be better. Alright, so here we are. This is the offspring from it. So we got an ultra rare, so automatically I can tell that's Weakness. So I need to go and train this up to adult and it might manifest it. Cool. If not, then that's fine. And for the stats, I kept the strength at 2.0, but everything else went down. But that's the price that I'm going to have to pay because I couldn't really find a 2.0 one. That just means it'll take more time and hatches, but that's fine with me. If you can't find a pet with just the one rarity of the talent that you want, you can always look at the talents around it. So on the original pool, I'm going to show a picture probably on the left side. So the original pool had epic, rare, and then epic, epic above Weakness. If there was another ultra rare like in between the epic and rare at the top, then I could tell that the ultra rare down here is Weakness because of these talents in between, because the talents don't move around in the pool. Oh my god, well, it manifested Willa. That's one way to verify. The pet is adult. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hatch this with my previous 420. So I'm going to try to get it down to where the whole pool is weakness and everything else is common, even the derby. All right, so here we go. I'm hatching them together. All right, so this is the result of the hatch. It doesn't look like much has changed. I only removed one epic from the bottom, but I did remove a lot of epics from the derby because the pedigree went down by 20. And so when you keep hatching with your 420, you're going to regain your max stats too. I did not regain any there, but in the next couple of hatches, I'm going to regain it back. All right, so I did not manifest the weakness, but that's okay because that's not really my goal right now. And here we go. I'm going to rehash the 2. And so now look at the cost got even cheaper. So these hatches do not cost a lot. All right, so here is the offspring. We got a little bit more progress. It went down to 37. So we lost a couple of epics on the main pool. And I don't think anything changed on that derby. But we did get max power. And, well, we still had max strength. And then we'll just need the other ones to get to max. And there we go. We trained it up to adult. We did not manifest weakness, but that's okay again, because that's not really the goal as of right now. All right, so rehatching with the 420 base again. So you pretty much get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. All right, so this is the offspring. I'm not even going to hatch it or train it up because I can already tell the ultra rare disappeared. So I do not have weakness anymore. So I'm just going to trash it and rehatch. Okay, so it happened again. So I just delete and rehatch. Okay, so it kept it on that time, but the pedigree did not really go down. I did not change anything in the main pool, but it did take the epic off of the derby pool. So I'm still going to train it up because it could get max stats. Let's see. And there we go. We did get max will, and intellect and agility are still one off. We did not manifest weakness, but I sound like a broken record here. That's not really the goal right now. Okay, so we made a little bit more progress. We got rid of the epic on the derby, so the derby is all common now. And so I'm still going to hatch this out because it might get another max stat. Unfortunately, it did not, but I'm still going to train it up because that's one less talent that I have to get to common. Alright, so we did actually manifest mana gift, which is not going to help us out, but I'm still going to use it, and hopefully we can not manifest that one next time. Alright, so we did actually lose the epic from the hatch, so we're actually one talent away. We just need to get rid of this rare now, and let's see if any of the stats went up. No, that is very unlucky. Sad. Alright, so we did not manifest mana gift from that, so that's good, because now we have a better chance of getting that one off. Oh my god, and there we go. We got it ISO'd, but let's see if the stats are actually maxed from it. Still no max stats, but you basically get the point. I'm going to keep hatching this with my 420, and yeah, until I get the max stats. If I lose the talent, then I instantly trash it, and yeah. And here we go, just trying for the max stats. I lost the talent, so I instantly trash, and just hatch again. Lost the talent again, and so I trash. Alright, so I actually got one back with the talent, and let's hope for max stats. Okay, there we go, we got intellect maxed, and now we just need agility. As you can see, it's a lot worse hatching with the non-2.0 pet, because I have to go through a couple of more hatches just to get the stats back up to 2.0. If you hatch with solely 2.0 pets, then you don't have to worry about that. Alright, so we got the talent back. It's at a different place, but that's fine because we lost one of these commons and gained one from the bottom. And let's see if it got max agility, please. No! Okay, so I'm still going to train this up just to try to see if I can get weakness manifested though. Because having it manifested will help my odds of retaining the talent in the pool. No, we did not manifest it, but that's alright. Okay, so we got it back, and let's see. Stats, please. And boom, there we go. We have isolated our talent, which is weakness, and the rest of the talents are common. And we have max stats again now. So that's my ISO base. So let's train it up and see if it manifests. If not, that's fine. But if you wanted to manifest it, you just make another copy of the pool with 2.0 stats and then keep hatching until it gets manifested. Okay, we did not manifest it, but yeah, that's how you isolate a talent. Pretty simple. So yeah, on to the next step, I guess. Alright, step 2 is combining the ISO bases together to create your pool. Each pool is not the same, so no one project will always be the same. So you're gonna have to use your brain to figure out the best way to do your project. Before creating the pool, I always create a list of the priorities of the pool I'm intending to make. This will help as a reference for where talents are supposed to go in relation to one another and helps a lot when making complete pools. Just search up your talents on the Discord bot and then just copy and paste to save somewhere. Let's start with the easier pool, the ISO pool. A pool with 5 to 9 desired talents, usually between 5 and 6, and the extra 6 talent can be the one you socket. The other talents are common, and Derby is all common too to keep it isolated and organized. ISO pools are usually made because they have one main variant that can be made from them, hence why they are usually only 5 to 6 talents. Once you have all your talents isolated on your ISO bases, you're gonna hatch them together. Think of this like stitching all of the pets together. There is no one right way to stitch the talents together, so you can pretty much do it any way you want as long as you continue to make the progress, but I'll be showing you how to add one talent at a time. It'll be more apparent when explaining complete pools why adding one talent at a time would be better for certain scenarios. Adding one talent at a time would go like this. Take the first ISO base and hatch with another ISO base to create an ISO base with 2 talents. If you originally isolated 2 talents together, then you'd already have one. From now on, I'll be referring to the ISO bases as ISO X, with X being the number of isolated talents on them. You'll then hatch the ISO 2 with another ISO 1. If you get one talent from the ISO 2 and one talent from the ISO 1, don't delete the pet because that's still progress. Just replace that new pet with the ISO 1 you had. Then continue hatching the 2 ISO 2s together until you get an ISO 3. You basically follow the same method to get an ISO 4 and then work your way up to ISO 5 or ISO whatever depending on how many talents you wanted in the pool. If you have trouble at any point in the steps, try getting an offspring to manifest desired talents that you want instead of having the commons manifested. That will significantly help since you'll have a greater chance of replacing the commons. There's also something called common variance that can screw you up. Common variance is when your 2 ISO pools have significant differences in commons, which can make you lose progress instead of gaining it. Let's say you hatch an ISO 2 with another ISO 2, with 3 talents that you want desired spread between them. If the resulting hatch gives you an ISO 1 pet, you know that the pools have common variance since you lost progress. Instead of putting talents you wanted together, the game added extra commons from both parents and you lost talents you wanted because there was a high common talent variance. To try and combat common variance, if you get another ISO 2 resulted from the hatch, train it up and replace the respective ISO base, as in replace your new ISO base with one of the previous ones so that you still have all 3 talents that you want spread between them. By doing this, you will eventually lower the common variance until the commons have little to no differences between the pools, and then you would have a better chance at getting the ISO 3. This can be applied to all stages of ISO pets. Alright, now let's talk about complete pools. A pool with 10 desired talents, example being 5 damage, 2 resist, 2 pierce, and mighty. These pools can help mitigate horrible fails, and you can also make multiple variants with them. Getting to a complete pool is considerably harder and will take longer than getting only to an ISO pool. Like I said before, it'll be more apparent when explaining complete pools why adding one talent at a time would be better for certain scenarios. An example would be when making a ward pet. You'll have 7 ward talents that are all the same rarity, which will be hard to track progress when making the pool. So it would be better to focus on adding a specific talent at a time instead of trying to blindly hatch to try and get all 7 wards into your pool, since you'd have little to no idea which wards you have in your pool when making progress. And you can always add an intentional landmark into your pool as a temporary talent to keep track of which talents have been added if it gets too complicated for you. An example would be adding a random uncommon in the middle of the wards. It will make it slightly easier to see the progress on your pool, and once it's time to remove it, you'll treat it just like any other common, trying to replace it with the desired talent you want in the final pool. An unintentional landmark would be a talent that acts as a landmark for keeping track of talents, but was unintentional when creating the pool. They were accidental but had the same purpose as an intentional landmark in making it easier to see the progress on your pool. Making a complete pool is the exact same process as adding one talent at a time to create an ISO 5 or an ISO pool, but you're just going to work your way up to an ISO 10 or complete pool instead. So in this demo of making a custom pool I'm about to show you, if you're making an ISO pool, you just follow until 5 or 6 talents depending on what pool you want. If you're making a complete pool, then you would follow the whole way through. I was originally going to show an ISO pool and complete pool for different demos, but that was going to make the video 10 minutes longer, so you're welcome that you don't have to spend another 10 minutes watching since I still get all my points across just showing this one demo. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to make your pool. So this is the pool that I'm making right now. Just like a PvE jade pet, you know. So I think I'm going to start working from the bottom of the pool first, just to get those 2 epics together. And then the other 2 epics that are together too are going to be hard to tell which one's which, so I might want to work on that towards the beginning. And as you can see from the ultra rares of Cycle of Life and Medic, those are basically unintentional landmarks, because if I did not have those, I would have 5 epics in a row, and that would be really hard to tell which talents transferred. And if you did not have those unintentional landmarks, you can put an intentional one there if it got too complicated for you. Another cool trick that you could do is you can copy the common pool too and like list them all out in order with your pool, and then if you're having trouble like trying to figure out what has transferred, that might also help. So if it comes up while making this pool, I might show how that could help. Alright, so to start it off, I'm going to get Defender's Rampart and Charm Chopper together. Alright, so we're just going to hatch these 2 together, and hopefully they get both epics. Nope, we did not get it, so we're just going to trash it and try again. Okay, so there we got it. We got the 2 epics together, and so it should be Defender's Rampart at the bottom, and then Charm Chopper at the top. Alright, so now I'm going to get Medic in the pool, and I actually had this one manifest on my ISO base, so that's going to be a little bit easier to get on the pool. So now I'm just going to hatch them. Okay, so we got Medic on the pool, and we got the 1 epic, so this is still progress, so I'm still going to hatch it out. Alright, so now we're going to take our 2 ISO 2s and hatch them together. No progress, so we delete the pet. No progress, delete the pet again. Alright, so I cannot get this ISO 3. I'm just going to train this base up and replace it with this last one, because it will remove some of the common variants, and I'll actually be able to get all 3 of these talents back. Alright, so now it has the exact same commons manifested on the 2 bases, but that doesn't really mean the commons in between are the same. So hopefully they're the same. I mean, you can't really tell. So you're basically like, it's a shot in the dark. Okay, and there we actually go. Doing the common variants thing, it actually helped me get this, because if I didn't do that, I think I would have been stuck here doing like 100 more hatches. So if you get stuck, that's also another trick that you can use. Now I have an ISO 3. Okay, and there we go. We actually got Charm Chopper manifested, so that's going to help us retain that talent. Alright, so now I think I'm going to add on Unicorn next, because if I keep this ultra rare and I get the epic above it, then I know for sure that Unicorn is on that. Or if one of these epics stayed on, and if there's a common in between, it's also Unicorn, because Stormboon is there. Alright, so now hatching the 2 together. Alright, so now this is the result. Well, I can clearly tell that we got Unicorn because we got all 3 epics. Alright, so now I'm going to go train this one up to adult and then hatch it with my other ISO 3 base. Alright, so now I'm just going to hatch these 2 ISO 3s together, and hopefully I get the ISO 4. Okay, so we didn't make any progress at all, so I'm just going to trash the pet. Alright, so now rehatching the ISO 3s together. Okay, so I'm actually going to train this up because it could be less common variants than the previous 3 epics that we had. I'm actually going to train this up and use this instead. Alright, so we kept Charm Chopper manifested, so that will help retaining that one on for sure. Alright, now hatching with the new ISO 3. Alright, so we did not get the ISO 4, but again, the common variants could be less, so I'm actually going to train it up again. Alright, so now I'm going to hatch these 2 together now. And boom, there we go. We actually got the ISO 4. Okay, and now our ISO 4 is adult. We got Unicorn manifested, so nice. Alright, so now the next talent we're going to add in is Cycle of Life, which should be right above Unicorn. Alright, so we did not get any progress at all. We did not keep Cycle of Life, so I'm just going to delete it. Alright, so now just rehashing the 2. Okay, so we did not make any progress again. We did not keep Cycle of Life on, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, so I got this pet. I have no idea if that's Medic or Cycle of Life. If there was a common below it, then it would be Cycle of Life. And so since I'm not sure, I'm just going to delete it. Alright, so now rehashing the 2. No progress again. Alright, so I'm able to tell this is Cycle of Life over Medic because 1, we have all 3 epics below it, and 2, there's a common there. So if we didn't have all 3 epics below it, but we had the common there, I could still tell. Either way, I know that cycle of life. And now I am just gonna train this up. All right, so now we're just gonna hatch the 2 ISO 4s together. This one with medic and this one with cycle of life, and hope that they keep all the epics and get the 2 ultra rares. Okay, so we did not make any progress at all. So I'm just gonna trash the pet. All right, now rehashing the 2 together. All right, so we didn't get the ISO 5, but the same thing that I've been saying before, the common variants might be less. So I'm going to train this up and rehatch with this one because we still have all 5 talents spread between them. All right, so now hatching this ISO 4 with this new ISO 4. All right, and there we go. We actually got the ISO 5. And so this is where you would stop if you were making an ISO pool. Or if you were making a 6 talent ISO pool, then you just follow until 6 talents or however many talents you want to be in your pool. All right, so the next talent I'm going to add in is Ward Wrecker, which should go right above Cycle of Life. All right, so I have no idea if this epic is Unicorn or Ward Wrecker, so I'm going to delete the pet. You could train it up and see if it manifests. And so, yeah, this is when it starts getting really hard to tell what has actually transferred. Like some hatches, like you cannot tell unless you actually manifest it. And yeah. All right, so we actually made progress on this hatch, and the reason I'm able to tell is because of this common and ultra rare right here. So medic, it cannot have a common underneath it. So this one has to be cycle of life. And so since that's cycle of life, this one has to be Ward Wrecker above it. So now I'm going to go train this one up. All right, so now I'm going to hatch this ISO 5 with this ISO 4 with Ward Wrecker and hope that I get an ISO 5 with Ward Wrecker or get to the ISO 6. All right, so it kept at an ISO 4, but again, I'm going to train it up just for the common variants to be lower, so I have a better chance of getting the ISO 6. And I'm only going to use this one instead because it kept Ward Wrecker on it. If it did not keep Ward Wrecker, then I would just delete the pet. All right, so here we go, hatching with the new ISO 4 with the ISO 5. All right, so I'm going to trash this pet because I have no idea if that one is Unicorn or Ward Wrecker. All right, so we lost Ward Wrecker, so I'm just going to delete the pet. No progress. Okay, and there we go. We actually got an ISO 5 with Ward Wrecker on it. So now I'm going to use this one instead of the last ISO 4. All right, so now hatching the 2 ISO 5s together with this one missing Ward Wrecker and this one missing Unicorn. All right, so I got another ISO 5 and I'm going to go train this one up just in case I got the common variants to be less. All right, so now hatching with the new ISO 5. So this offspring got the same exact talents as this base, so I'm going to go train this one up, and so hopefully it has less common variants with this pool. Alright, so now hatching this new ISO 5 with the previous ISO 5. And boom, there we go. We got the ISO 6 now. Alright, so now I'm going to try to add in Plague, and this one might be the hardest depending on what the commons are in the pool. So I'm just going to hatch them together, and let's see what it gets. Alright, well, the commons, actually worked in my favor. So if you look at the list on the screen right now, if there's 2 commons in between the epics, then the top one has to be Plague. I mean, even if there was just 1 common between this and this epic, I could tell because we can only have 1 common at the bottom, which was Stormboon. So this one is either Unicorn or Ward Wrecker. This one is either Charm Chopper or Defender's Ward. This is Mythboon, Fireboon, and then Plague. So yeah, we got the Plague on it. So we got the ISO 3 of it. So we actually made pretty good progress. So that's why I said at the beginning that making the list with the common pool right next to it would be pretty helpful. And if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have known that this was Plague. So yeah, you should definitely use that if you're going to make a complete pool. So I'm just going to hatch the ISO 6 with the ISO 3 that has Plague on it. All right, so I'm not sure if we lost Plague because I'm not sure if that one's Plague because there could be 7 commons above it. So I'm not too sure, so I'm going to delete it. All right, so we definitely lost Plague on this one because we have the 2 ultra rares and there is no epic above it. So we for sure lost Plague. So I'm going to delete this one and rehatch. All right, so here we go. We kept Plague on it. The reason I'm able to tell is we have this common and this common. So this one at the top has to be Plague. All right, so now we're going to hatch the ISO 6 with the new ISO 4 that has Plague on it. All right, so I'm not sure if Plague is still on it because we didn't get the commons in between it. So I'm not sure if this one's Ward Wrecker or Plague, so I'm just going to trash it. All right, so here we go. We actually made a little bit more progress. We got the ISO 5 with Plague on it. All right, so the reason I'm able to tell is that this one is for sure Medic because it has the 2 epics above it right next to each other. and then the common in between it is either Myth Boon or Fire Boon, and then Plague is right above it. If this was Cycle of Life, that would not make sense because how would I get 3 epics above it? So it has to be Medic. And so that way I'm able to tell that's Plague. All right, so now we're going to hatch the ISO 6 with the new ISO 5 that has Plague on it. All right, so we got another ISO 6, and we can easily tell this is Plague again because at the bottom we have Defenders, Charm Chopper, and then we're missing Medic, but then we have Unicorn. And so those are the 3 epics at the bottom. And then we have Cycle of Life, we have Ward Wrecker, and then we have Plague right above it. And actually, this is our first ISO base that we actually have 2 talents manifested that we actually want to keep. None of the commons are manifested. All right, so now I'm going to hatch the 2 ISO 6 that I have. This one is missing Plague, and then this one is missing Medic. And so I didn't make any progress at all. I actually got an ISO 5 on it. You can tell that some of the commons are different because I gained commons instead of losing them. And so we got this offspring from the hatch, and so we didn't get the ISO 7. So I'm going to train this one up and then use it instead of using this one. And I still have all 7 talents between them. All right, so now hatching these 2 ISO 6s together. Cross our fingers, hopefully we get the ISO 7. All right, so I'm actually going to train this one up because I have not gotten the ISO 7 yet, and hopefully the common variance goes down. All right, so now I'm going to hatch this ISO 6 with the new ISO 6 that I just trained up. All right, so here we go, hatching this ISO 6 with the new ISO 6 that we just trained. All right, so I actually got this offspring from the hatch. So I'm going to train this up and see if I could get 2 manifests that aren't commons and replace this pet because I think that Cheeky is making it really hard now. So yeah, I think this is going to be a lot better trying to get the ISO 7 because now I don't have any commons manifested. Which is why I said at the beginning that if you're having any trouble in the steps, try getting the talents you actually want manifested instead of the commons. So now hatching these 2 together. Okay, I did not get the ISO 7, so I think I'm just going to delete it and hatch again. All right, rehatching the 2 together. And there we go, we actually got the ISO 7. Getting this Cheeky unmanifested really helped. So now we have the ISO 7. Okay, so we got the Hardy manifested, so that's really not going to help. So that's fine though for now. We just got the ISO 7, and so we're going to work our way to unmanifest that later. All right, so now I think I'm going to try to add Proof and Defy into the pool. And so I have this ISO pool with both of them on it. So that's fine. It's going to work. So the main thing I'm going to try to do first is try to get the Defy over. So that way it's going to be easier to tell if Weakness and Spell Proof got on the pool, which are the other last 2 that I need to add. All right, so we did not get Defy on it, so I'm going to delete it. All right, so there we go. We actually get Defy on it. We have an ISO 4 with Defy on it, so I'm going to go train this up. Okay, so the manifests are absolute garbage, but that's okay. Now hatching our ISO 7 with the ISO 4 that has Rare. Okay, so we did not keep Defy. We just delete it and rehatch. All right, so there we go. We have an ISO 5 now with the Rare. Okay, well, we got garbage manifest that time. But hopefully we can get up to an ISO 6 with the Defy now. Okay, so we did not retain Defy, so this is basically no progress, so delete the pet. Oh my god, I swear to god, like this RNG is so random. Like, how do I get an ISO 7 when my manifests were absolute dog? There's a lot of luck and RNG involved into doing this, so yeah, we got the ISO 7 with Rare. Okay, and there we go, we actually got good manifests on it, so that should help too. Alright, so already I can tell that there's a little bit of common variance between the 2 pools because of this common right here. And so this common is Storm Boon, and then this pool does not have it at all. This one at the top is either Wise or Ice Boon. So I'm going to have to hatch a couple of times to get the common variance lower and lower before I get to an ISO 8. And so yeah, this was the result of the hatch. So I'm actually going to replace this pet with this one because now I can tell the common variance is lower because now I have both Storm Boons on it. So that should help a lot. And also we could get better manifests instead of this Hardy. Okay, so we actually get the same manifest, but it should be a lot better just because we have a lower common variance. We could already tell that we have the same Storm Boon. So hopefully we can get the ISO 8. And if not, we'll just try to get better manifests on that one. All right, now hatching the 2 together. And we kept Defying it, and so our pool changed a little bit. We lost an epic at the bottom. I'm still going to train this up because maybe one of these commons converted to one of the commons right here. So that would be lower variance. So Hopefully that happened. We have no way of telling unless we manifest Hardy, which we know for sure is on this pool. So cross our fingers. Hopefully it got lower common variance. All right, so we actually manifested Hardy on this one. So we can tell that this common is Stormboon, this one is Hardy, and then on this pet, this one is Stormboon and this one is Hardy. So we have a really low common variance. So we're not sure about this common though, but hopefully it is the same. And so now it's just hope for the ISO 8. And so now we're gonna hatch the two together. Okay, so we actually got another pool of this one, a duplicate pool. I'm gonna go train it up and I'm gonna go see if I could get the Hardy to not manifest. Okay, so we actually got Ice Boon to manifest, and so now we know that the common variance is actually pretty much all three the same commons, maybe. So the only commons that could be above Defy is Wise or Ice Boon, and we just need to hope that it's Ice Boon. And then so now we're just gonna hatch the ISO 7s together. And again, getting the manifest instead of the commons is going to help a lot. So that's what I'm going to try to do. All right, so we got one with Defy, and hopefully we do not manifest any of the commons. So we actually got manifests that weren't the commons. So this should help our odds of getting the ISO 8. All right, so hatching the ISO 7 with the new ISO 7. And boom, there we go. We actually got an ISO 8. That took a while, but now we're basically on the home stretch. All right, and there we go. We got Plague and Unicorn manifested, so that's going to be a lot better. All right, so now I'm going to try to add in weakness. All right, so I did not get weakness at all, so I'm just going to trash it and hatch again. All right, so now I'm going to rehatch the ISO 8 with the weakness, and hopefully we get weakness. All right, so wow, we actually made a lot of progress. So we can tell for sure that this is weakness because we have the other ultra rares in the pool, Medic and Cycle of Life, and because there's also two commons right here. And so now I'm just gonna go train this up. Okay, so we did get the new pool with ISO 6, so we didn't get any more, but we did actually get Stormboon on it. And so that's one of the commons that we have right there. So that's going to actually help since we would have a lower common variance. And so now I'm just going to go train this up. Hopefully it doesn't manifest any of the commons. All right, so we got manifests that weren't common on it. All right, so here we go, hatching the ISO 8 with our ISO 6 that has weakness on it. All right, so we actually got an ISO 7 with the weakness on it, and we can tell it's weakness just because we have the ultra rare and the other ultra rare, and then this one has to be weakness. So I'm gonna go train this one up, and we're getting closer and closer to the ISO 9. All right, so we got Cycle of Life and Ice Boon manifested. The Ice Boon manifested isn't gonna help us, but we did make progress just because we got the ISO 7. All right, so now hatching our ISO 8 with our ISO 7 that has weakness. All right, so we got the same exact pool. So I'm gonna go train it up and see if I can get better manifests. All right, so we did get better manifests. We did not get any of the commons manifested, so this is gonna help. All right, so we actually lost weakness on this one, so I'm just gonna trash it. All right, so now rehatching. We got lucky. There you go. We actually got pretty lucky. We have the ISO 9. We're one talent off. We just need proof. All right. So we got Unicorn and Medic manifested. If we got common manifested, oh my god, I would have like smashed my monitor, dude. All right, so now we're gonna hash the ISO 9 one with the proof, and we're trying to get proof into the pool now. All right, so we did not get proof, and so now I'm just gonna trash it. All right, so we kept proof because we can tell because of the rare. Pretty good first hatch, so now I'm gonna go train it up. Okay, so we got Charm Chopper manifested, and then the Calculating Manifest isn't really gonna help us out too much, but that's all right. All right, so hatching our ISO 9 with the ISO 6 that has proof on it. All right, so we did not keep proof at all, so now we're just gonna delete and rehatch. All right, rehatching. All right, so we did not keep the proof on it. There's no way that this could be proof because there's 3 commons above it. There's only one possible common that could be above proof. So I'm gonna delete it and then rehatch. And boom, there we go. We kept proof on it. So now we have an ISO 7 with proof. So I'm gonna go train it up. All right, so the manifests are better, so that should help our odds of actually making progress. Well, here we go, hatching the ISO 9 with the ISO 7. And so we kept proof on it. We have the ISO 8 now. So I'm gonna go train this one up. All right, so we did manifest Stormboon, which isn't gonna help out, but hopefully we can still get to the ISO 9. All right, so here we go, hatching the ISO 9 with the ISO 8 that has the proof. Okay, so we did lose proof on it, but we actually gained the Stormboon into this pool. So instead of this common at the top, we have Stormboon now. So maybe it's better just to use this one with this one and then try to get rid of this common. And then that way we'll only have one common that we have to get rid of. So I'm actually gonna go train this up and use that instead of this one. All right, so now we're gonna hatch this new ISO 9 with the ISO 8 that has spell proof at the top. Alright, so we still got the same ISO 8, but I'm gonna go train it up and see if I cannot get Stormboon manifested. Okay, and there we go. We did not get Stormboon manifested, so that's gonna help. Alright, rehatching the ISO 9 with the ISO 8. Alright, we did not make any progress, so I'm just gonna trash it. Alright, and there we go. Now we have our ISO 9 with proof. And so now what I was saying before of why I switched to this pet. So now I know for sure that this is Stormboon and this one's Stormboon too. Because that's literally the only talent that could be in between Unicorn and Medic. So, because looking at this pet, the common at the top has to be Wise or Iceboon. And then if I had the common at the top of my spellproof ISO 9, that would be Iceboon. So I wouldn't be able to tell if this was Wise or Iceboon, so it could be two different talents, and I could actually go back down to an ISO 8. So that's why I switched to this one. So this one is for sure Stormboon, and this one is for sure Stormboon 2. So I cannot go back down to an ISO 8 using these two pets. The only thing I can do is get another ISO 9 or get an ISO 10. Alright, so we did not manifest the common, the Stormboon, so that's really good. And so now we're just going to hatch the ISO 9s together until we get an ISO 10. That's literally all we have to do, just spam the hatches. Alright, so I could get it probably on the first try, so let's see. Nope, I did not get it on the first try. So I just delete and rehatch. Cha-ching, boy, second hatch. Boom, 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 pow, pew, pew, pew. All 10 talents. This actually looks really nice, now that I think about it. Yeah, that's how you basically get a complete pool. And yeah, so now you would just move on to step 3 and transfer it to whatever body you want. Just a reminder before we move on that there are other ways to create the pools, like using multiple ISO bases with multiple talents on them. An example would be using 2 ISO 5 pets to create a complete pool. It would work the exact same way I just showed you, but you choose one ISO 5 as a primary pool and the other as a secondary. Then you'd work on slowly adding the talents from the secondary pool over to the primary pool. And by doing it this way, you'd have a chance at adding on multiple talents at a time as well. Step 3 is to transfer the pool to the pet body you want and then self-hatch to get to Mega. Once you have your ISO pool or complete pool finished, it's basically like you're copying the pool over to another pet body. You want to keep the body you want on the left and the hamster or your exclusive pet on the right when you self-hatch. Having the exclusive pet on the right side will make it have a 0% return rate, so you'll always get the body on the left side of the hatching page. You'll continue hatching and training just like you're copying a pet until the pool and stats is all transferred. Then you'd follow the self-hatching method to get to your mega pet. If you forgot how to self-hatch, you can go rewatch the part where I show it in my pet copying vid. If you want to make slight variations in a finished pool, you can also do that. It's like swapping out talent X for talent Y. You'll start off by hatching the finished pool with the pool that has the isolated talent Y that you'll eventually want to replace talent X. It's basically the same process as adding one talent onto your pool, but you're replacing one instead of adding it. So think of the talent you want to get rid of as a common talent when trying to get from an ISO 9 to an ISO 10. You'll eventually get to a pool with 9 original talents from the finished pool with your new selected talent. The one you want to get rid of will still usually be on the pool. Then you just hatch with the original pool until the talent you don't want has been removed. If there's another talent with the same rarity right next to it, you're gonna have to manifest it to make sure the right talent was removed. Alright, well sorry this guide is so long, but trying to explain how to make custom pools is not easy and takes longer than 5 minutes. I know some of y'all's attention spans are 5 seconds, so sorry I guess. I know for sure everyone is going to have questions because of how complicated making custom pools can be at times, so you can either comment on the video or join the Discord and I can help you out in there. Joining the Discord would probably be better since you can send pictures in there too. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
My name is Jeff.